Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Quick mic check. Perfect. Are you hearing the music at the moment as well, Atlam? Perfect, perfect, perfect. We are pretty much ready to go. Stand by, everyone. You're ready for an amazing Dungeon Alchemist map making show. Alrighty, welcome one and all to the weekly Dungeon Alchemist map making show, or the DAM show for short. Today we have a very, very special guest. I'm going to cover the itinerary and we're going to get right into that guest segment so we don't keep them waiting. But just really quickly, as always, covering the itinerary for today's stream, our DAM news segment. TBD, I left that blank because we'll probably be covering the news while we are hanging out with our guests today. Our special guest of the day during our DAM user segment is none other than the lead developer of Dungeon Alchemist, Karel Crombecq. You may know him around our Discord as Aranis. So the, brain behind much of the development behind Dungeon Alchemist will be joining us today, answering your questions, kind of peeling back the curtain and letting you see or understand or answering your questions as to related to development as what's going on, behind those closed doors. Hopefully we can get a closer look and understand all of that in the coming minutes. Anyway, beyond that, after that will be Dungeon Alchemist questions. So DA related Q&A, if you will. So if you have any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, have any support inquiries, maybe you just got Dungeon Alchemist and you're wondering how to accomplish a certain build or a map style, please stick around. After our interview segment, we will be doing Q&A related to support Dungeon Alchemist related inquiries, okay? Afterwards, if there is still time, we have 2 segments, Dungeon Alchemist Workshop, where we will be showcasing docks and harbors. And then lastly, the feature showcase, where we will discuss cameras and perspectives. So, hey, Tropism, don't make fun of me for all of my, I'm just dying from that. Sorry, that's great. That's great. Okay, anyway, let's get our guest on, because I'm sure they're sick of waiting. Stand by here, one moment. Oh, there's my camera. 1 second, let's see. Karel, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Let's hope that they can hear you as well. I'm gonna pause the music. We're gonna do a quick sound check with you as well. Can we have you say hello one more time, or testing 1, 2, 3?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? That's 1, 2, 3.
Raise them up a bit. Yeah, let's do that. A little quiet. We'll turn them up some. Say something again.
Hello, test 1, 2, 3.
Salute.
Am I?
I'm going to turn you on up in one more place here. Nope, that's turned up all the way. Is there any chance you could turn your mic up just a little bit on your end?
Sure. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure how to do that in this software.
No worries. Honestly, it's probably just your default mic in your computer somewhere. That being said, we've got a lot of people that are saying they can hear you now, so I think we got you at a good volume. We've got viewers now on multiple platforms, so Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Steam at the moment. Fortunately, we don't have a TikTok multi-stream at the moment due to a bug, but we'll sort that out later. Everyone here, can we just confirm we hear Carl and give him a warm welcome? And quickly, I'm going to introduce Carl. You may know him as our lead developer, but I honestly just got to say he's a bit of a techno wizard. Often I'll approach Carl with something the community wants, and he'll be like, I don't know if that's possible. And then like 2 days later, he'll be like, hey, I have a testing prototype for you if you want to check it out. This has not happened. This has happened more than one time. So like it makes me laugh how many times I've come to him and be like, well, and he'll be like, no, that's not possible. And then just a few days later, he has a working prototype. He is very dedicated to Dungeon Alchemist and our community as a whole. He loves hearing your feedback and insight, and I'm so excited to have him on the stream today so you can chat with him, one-on-one and get to know him as a person, as a developer, and just as a gamer too. Carl, I'll leave it to you if you want to quickly introduce yourself, say hello, and then and anyone, if you have questions for Carl, really quickly, if you want to start dropping them in any chat platform you're on, just preface it with a just the tag question and then the question following it. That way it pops and it's easy for me and the moderators to see and make a list of all the questions you have today. Go ahead, Carl. I'll leave it to you.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the introduction. I'm Karel. I started Briganti, the company that makes Dungeon Alchemist, together with Wim. He's the one who came up with the idea. He came to me. I've been a game developer for 15 plus years. And he came to me with the idea, and I was like, this is actually a really good idea. Let's try to prototype this. And then we built it into a Kickstarter, and the rest of the story is pretty much history at this point, I guess. So yeah, I've actually come from a video game development background. I did play D&D and other TTRPGs before. We're even currently running Blades in the Dark campaign with a part of the Dungeon Alchemist team. Our colleague programmer, Quentin, is well, it's not called Dungeon Master there, I guess. It's called Game Master or something like that, or Game Director. But yeah.
Game Master is the universal.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
sorry,
so that's
I didn't mean to cut
my
you
intro.
off.
No, that was my intro.
Fantastic. Super excited to have Carl. We already have comments coming in about the drum set. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we knew that was coming, right?
We knew, we planned, we anticipated this. Unfortunately, we cannot do that today for several reasons. Carl's a bit out of practice, and also it's a little late where he's at, and he's got a young one, so it's probably best he doesn't, rat-a-tat-tat on the drums late at night. So let's give him a break on that and not bring up the drums again if we can, please.
Honestly, if you, like I said, if you would have asked, if you have asked, if you would have asked me a few weeks ago, then I might have had time to practice a little bit.
So it's all my fault. You can put it on me if you want.
It's totally your fault.
It's all me. So,
it's true, says
not the millions of times we've asked you before. No worries. I'll take the blame here. The community likes to shift blame onto me when bugs are found and delays happen, so it's cool. I'll be that punching bag. That being said, I'm really excited to have you on the stream. Honestly, we don't get to hang out enough. I wish we did get to hang out more. And I'm really excited with the upcoming things that you've been sharing. Primarily object rotation. Like, I would love to discuss that for a minute. We've shared some teasers about it, here and there. But I'm sure that behind the scenes, it was a lot of work to get it to that point. And I'm just curious, like, in your work and time developing out this feature, what was, something that was like did you ever have like a eureka moment, like an aha moment where it was like it all just clicked? And has there been moments where it was frustrating and hard to overcome? Because I know this is something the dev team has been putting off for a while. And probably for a reason. Anyway, I don't want to, hold you from answering there, so I'll leave it to it.
Yeah, the 3D rotation is one of those cases, like the multi-level, where you first need to kind of put in the foundational code um, to prep everything, and then the last step of implementing it is actually doing the 3D rotation. Um, so this has been in the works behind the scenes for like a couple of years, where every time we did some new changes to the objects, like the rotated rooms and stuff like that, I started taking into account the fact that we were gonna do 3D rotation at some point, which actually made implementing like a quick prototype of the 3D rotation pretty easy technically. For the 3D rotation, the main challenge has been like finding a good user interface that's convenient, that's fun to use, and that also looks good. I think that's been like the biggest time sink in this feature. Like the pure 3D rotation we had up and running in like a week and a half or something because of all the prep work we did before with previous updates. But then it took us like, I don't know, 2 months to get to like a point where we feel like the interface is actually really good. And Wim has been like testing it hard over the last couple of weeks with like making as funky scenes as he could possibly devise and posting them. So he's been giving it like a lot of like a good workout, and I think he's still very happy with it. So I think that's also for me the case, because you always need someone else to test it, right? You can't perfectly know yourself. So yeah. I'm not hearing you, Mac. You're muted.
Oh, my mic is muted. My bad. My bad. I was gonna say, if you want to find bugs in it, all you got to do is give it to me. I'll break it in a day.
Yeah,
No, I'm
it's
just
it's
kidding.
it's
Honestly,
getting it's
though, I
getting
love the direction you've taken with it because there's so many 3D apps out there, and they try to, either redo the gimbal and they do it awful. And
yeah.
I think this approach really matches the simplicity that is offered by DA. I think that was what the core of it was. You were trying to match DA's overall feel, which is
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, and the gimbal is like it's ugly, it's clunky, it's powerful. So our goal was, can we find a user interface that can do everything that like the classic gimbal with the three. Like for the people who don't know what a gimbal is, it's basically this like sphere with like three colored lines around it, and you kind of drag the lines to rotate over the three axes, and that's powerful, and that's how like professional tools like Unity do it. So that could have been our default choice as well, but we didn't like that. We wanted something more user friendly and intuitive, and I think we found it. And we also added some like 90-degree snapping on top of it, so that's a really nice one. So it's very easy to kind of lay flat a table or like put a chair on its back. That's like a very convenient one time drag.
Honestly, I think overall most will be happy that we didn't adopt the gimbal approach. Mainly because as nice it is as it is and as professional as it is, it's kind of a dated concept. And I think UI has developed a lot since they were first released, like gimbal, tools in general. And I love the approach we've taken. I can't wait to, play with it hands on and start sharing it with the community. So we've got some questions rolling in. And I also have some questions from Discord. So I'm going to let you decide. We have some questions from Discord over the past couple of weeks. Do you want to start with one of them, or do you want to start with one from the stream?
Maybe we can start with the stream ones, and if they dry up, we can go
Cool.
back to some of the Discord
Okay.
questions.
So Artful Darkness on Twitch asks, why are higher DPI options available for VTTs? When maps are too large, they end up being a black image. So I know exactly what they're talking about here. We have the 72, 150, and 300 DPI, which are 300 and 150 are ideal for printed maps. But when it becomes an online image, usually you want to stick to a lower DPI, especially if the map is quite large. So I agree with this sentiment that it's kind of like you see high quality and you want high quality for your players, so you just do that. But at the end of the day, high quality might be too high quality for, say, Foundry or Fantasy Grounds, and then they end up with an issue and they have to rotate back to the forum or social media, and then that gets them dissatisfied. I'm wondering, Karl, like, with this in mind, sorry to, and this is just something I deal with often on the stream, if we kind of rephrased, at least in the VTT exports, or maybe even remove I don't want to remove them entirely, but just change them to say like 72 instead of saying low, it said VTT standard, and
Well,
then
let me interject.
go ahead.
So the thing is, there is a warning we put in specifically for Foundry because we knew Foundry couldn't handle like images bigger than like 20K by 20K pixels or something like that. So I do think we put in a warning that says like this image is too big. It's not going to work when you export it. But there might be other VTTs that have the same problem and that we are not aware of. So I would really like to hear from Artful Darkness, like what specific VTT is giving you problems. Because honestly, if we just put in the warning, I don't think it's a problem. Some people really want the high quality, want to be able to zoom in a lot. So I don't want to take it away necessarily. But if it's breaking a certain VTT, we should put in a warning pop-up that says like, hey, this is probably a bad idea. So I would love to hear like where is it breaking, which VTTs is it not working for, and I'll figure it out and I'll add a warning to it so that it doesn't.
So there is a warning for Foundry. I think ultimately, I think it just comes back to, why is this option available if they can't use it? You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know. I understand their sentiment, and maybe there are other issues with other VTTs we need to research. I'll look into it myself when there's some time off stream.
Yeah. So Artful Darkness says that it was with Foundry. That surprises me a bit. Maybe in a newer version of Foundry, they reduced the supported pixel size of an image or something like that, and I need to revisit the warning. Or maybe there's a bug and the warning isn't showing anymore since the last update. That's also possible. That's actually something I'm gonna note down to look at.
We have Highland Last discussing about Roll20 as well. Highland Last, do you know if a notification pops up related to Roll20? I think this is DAG also brings up sentiment with this that goes along with it. This comes back to, we keep getting questions in the forum because people can use these options still, even with the warning. It might be an ideal thing to gray them out, if they get over a certain point, because it's
Agreed.
beyond useless. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Shouldn't be a warning. It should be like an error. It should say like, sorry, you can't do this. People maybe click away warnings.
Often.
Often. So
that's more like
no, I agree.
A recommendation, not a warning.
Yeah. All right. I took notes. It's a good question. It shouldn't happen.
Someone else said, Freestyler from YouTube says, I use Foundry Lightweight client for their games, and I didn't have much problems with your maps. Uses sizes up to 70 by 70 with 150. Good to know. Good to know from the sources, people using it. Okay, next question here. From the stream, Seisu asks, do you get enough free time to recharge?
No.
The hesitation.
But it's not honestly, it's not Dungeon Alchemist's fault. My wife picked up studying again, so often in the weekends I have to go out with my child, so my weekends aren't as chill as they should be to allow me to recharge. It's what it is.
He's a super dad.
I'm trying to. But yeah, I'm really happy my wife is studying again. She's doing something she's really passionate about. So I support it fully. But it's tough. But it's only 1 year, so it's kind of we'll stick through it.
Not too bad. 1 year. Yeah. Okay, so some more questions coming in here. Let's see here. This one's from Tropism on Twitch. Will all rotations remain when I copy the object? Example, rotate it 15 degrees upward, then copy the object without having to re-rotate.
Yes.
So the properties of the object will copy to the new one.
Yeah.
What if the
absolutely.
object has an auto rotate property on it when you do this? Will it override that?
You mean like a bed or something that it clips against the wall?
Well, like a lot of objects, like rocks, for instance, auto rotate when you place them
Oh, you
every
mean
time to
like
mix up the variety. So let's say I rotated it in a different direction. Would it also spin as well on its original rotation axis like it planned?
I honestly, I'm not sure. I would have to test that. It might, but it might randomly rotate, and that's probably something that is undesired. So that's something we would have to take out, I guess.
That or an option to just prevent auto rotation, like a check mark or something.
Well, you can always, if you turn collisions off, then there's no auto rotation anyway, I think.
Let's test that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Now, what I do like, and that's if you, for example, if you take a bed and you rotate it like 45 degrees, then it still clips against the wall. So you can kind of put a bed like halfway against the wall, or like a fallen over closet. It clips against the wall neatly with the back. So it's like a fun way to do that.
The auto rotation does still work on objects that have it when collisions are off.
All right, interesting. I would have to see. I'm not sure if it's. It probably shouldn't.
Honestly, it's fun to discover behaviors like this during a stream that you never even considered.
Yeah, the thing is, there's so much stuff in Dungeon Alchemist by now that, like, even for us, it's really hard to like remember everything that's in there when you're adding a new feature. It's like, all right, so this interacts with these 50 things we already have, and you try to think of as many as you can, but like there's always some that pop up during like testing where you're like, oh yeah, I think that also exists.
One recent one is like wall-mounted objects that appear on other levels when you're in multi-level, like the visually, even though they shouldn't. And we tried to get all of them before, but there's still some that crop up. I remember it being an issue with testing before launch. And you and I discussed it at length, because the wall 0 is different than floor 0. And so they basically were appearing. Anyway, there are still some that do to this day. And I think, with time, we'll sort those out. But especially with a new feature like multi-level. Okay, next question here comes from Atlam, one of our mods. This is a technical question specifically for you. I know they've been itching to ask this one because they asked it of Wim and Wim couldn't answer it, or at least a variation of this. Is allowing DA to run a local version of FFmpeg instead of the bundled an option that may be considered in the future, preferably with arguments we ourselves can choose?
For like a custom video export system. That's the idea?
Yeah.
Like where you would configure your own encoder settings and
set your own bit rate, frame rate, everything, especially like in advanced options.
I think it could be done. It could definitely be done. It would be some kind of hidden advanced feature, I guess. But I gotta be honest, that's not really high on our priority list, and it's also not gonna be super simple to do. Like you need like a whole bunch of UI, I guess, to be able to like run, like put in like the path to the FFmpeg version, the arguments and stuff like that, and then boot it up and then pipe the data to FFmpeg. Also, the specific video formats we chose are kind of very finely picked and tuned to not overflow your RAM while you're like exporting the video, because if you're like exporting frames and the encoder is too slow, then like it fills up a queue in your RAM, and things can get really big really quickly. Like if you're exporting big maps, one frame is really big, and before it's encoded, it's like a raw image basically. It's not compressed or anything because you would lose too much fidelity. So it's really big. It's like I'm not saying no, but I'm not putting it on high on the priority list. That's probably going to be my answer to a lot of these requests. Like, I want to do a lot of stuff, but we have to choose our battles.
For sure, for sure. Related to that, actually, sorry to Atlam really quickly. Atlam, there was a question that came in from Rockwood Academy on on YouTube. Can you answer that question? Because that's something that you can handle, and then we don't need to add that onto the list. Thank you very much. Next question. Actually, before we do that, let's talk more about new features. I wanted to segue into something else. So we were kind of discussing this before the stream. One new feature you've recently brought up and shared with the community is essentially what is a rasterization feature that allows you to split a map up and print multiple pages that seam together, or go together seamlessly, I should say.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on this new feature? And I don't know if you feel comfortable telling the community, but I mean, you said that this might be something very soon that they might be getting access to.
Yeah. So over the last couple of weeks, we took a break from developing. After I finished the 3D rotation feature, I took a break from the Fun with Objects update to do some bug fixing for the current live version, because there were still a few crashes that were occurring a little too often to my liking. So I've been like bug fixing for 2 weeks. And then at some point, while I was fixing bugs, especially with the export window, there were like quite a few weird bugs and crashes there with the batch export as well. I at some point realized that I did all the prep work to do the multi-page printing with the exporting of the layers and stuff. This is like another example of where like the fact that we already have the ability to export multiple images for like the multi-level maps was halfway, or like 90% of the work to be able to do the multi-page export, because that's also just exporting different images. And I was like, I can actually build this pretty quickly. And then I think I worked on it for like 4 days, and it was finished. And so I'm going to bundle it into the hotfix patch that is coming out in a couple of weeks. So I still have a few bugs left to fix, but I was like, this feature is finished. People have been asking for it for a long time. I don't want to like keep it away from our users until the Fun with Objects update is fully finished, because that's still months away. So there's going to be like a quick intermediate bug fix patch along with the multi-page printing feature, which I'm really excited about. I really like it. It's so convenient and fun. Basically, you can take any map of any size, you put export, you go to print export, and it just cuts it up in a minimum amount of pages that it needs to fill it. You say the paper format, and it just produces these images separately so you can print them.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you said you can set the paper size to any size you want?
Yeah.
So it could be poster size even if you are cool. Yeah. If you have the capability.
Yeah. So before this, like if you picked a new map, you had the option digital map or like print yourself. And if you chose print yourself, you had to choose a paper size, and you were kind of stuck on that paper size, right? You couldn't resize your map or anything. Right now, it's the resizing of maps is unlocked for all maps except for the print delivery one. So if you choose A4 or whatever, or whatever you want, and then you're like, I actually want this map bigger, you can just make the map bigger, and then it will distribute it over 2 pages of any format you want.
So print yourself is getting a boost with this as well, then, with this hotfix.
Absolutely.
So if you have a map bigger than a single page, it will start expanding into multiple pages. That's something I didn't even know until you just said it. That's impressive, actually.
Yeah. And I got prepared. I did an experiment when I was working on the feature. So this is like a test map I made
with examples.
These are 6 A4 pages I just made a random map of a random size, and it kind of
So this is the same
exported.
image I have pulled up right now, which is 6 A4s, you said, right?
Yeah, it's 6 A4s. And the thing is, what you can see here is that the pages, you see like these darker lines here.
Uh-huh.
These are, wait, see these here? These are where the pages overlap a little bit. And that's because the images that are exported have a little bit of overlap on
So you
when
can
they
align
like,
them easier.
so you can align them easier. You can cut,
And you don't have that weird white line.
exactly. You can cut into the map a little bit, and there's like this kind of area where you can safely cut, and you can just overlap the maps and glue them together or whatever, and it's gonna align perfectly.
That is fantastic. I honestly, that's so intuitive, more than I even assumed. So thank you for explaining that. And honestly, I think this will give our printed maps a big boost, especially those that appreciate printing them, because now they're not limited to just that size or shoehorned into digital, and then they have to rasterize it themselves. This is a big improvement, everyone. I honestly am very impressed with this feature. I hope you all, get some use out of this. Wow, that's just brilliant. Really great. The other thing I wanted to discuss while I have you on stream, this is something many in our community have been vocal about, and I've been bugging you about it for probably 2-3 years now, constantly at the behest of our community. And it is something that, I'm eager to share, that, at least we're going towards that goal. And that is GeForce Now in integration with Dungeon Alchemist. There may be a few people here who have asked about it, but I get asked at least once a week on social media. We have, multiple times it's been brought up on our suggestion board, and on streams it gets brought up. GeForce Now, for those that aren't aware, is cloud-based, gaming. And it allows you to borrow GeForce's, NVIDIA servers to run a game. So if you have a computer that's, dated, or maybe a laptop that, it's great for, mobility, but not that great for Dungeon Alchemist, or maybe you don't even have a computer at all, like a tablet or a smart device, you can actually potentially run Dungeon Alchemist on that device. So Karel has begun, working on that on the back end. We're going to begin testing, hopefully, in the coming months, and with any luck, maybe incorporated in FWO2 if there's time. Now, sorry, go ahead. I'll let you.
Yeah. I think I actually don't think we need to do a patch to enable this. So it's just a matter of we have to test it and make sure it works. But it's in progress, the support for GeForce Now.
Fantastic. I appreciate you even just looking into it. So thank you so much. It's been a lot of people have brought it up over the years, so I'm sure a lot of people will be very, excited, or even take a second look at DA if they couldn't before, So moving on from those upcoming features, we got some more questions that have come in. So I'm going to just roll into those really quickly. Let's see here. Next question is from Random Ladybird on Twitch. I have put this up on the roadmap suggestion board, but how difficult is what I'm asking? I would love to have the ability to decide, and for that to be saved, if an identical animated object is synced or not. Machines in sync look great. A swarm of jellyfish swimming in sync, not so much. So I understand this exactly. When I started this map, actually, all the animations on this map were in sync, and it actually made the map kind of lag. And I had to go to each objects and pause them and play them so they were out of sync with each other, so they weren't matching, which makes it more natural in some environments than others. A mechanical one like this, it makes sense for them to all be in sync. But let's say you have some animated bees or birds or anything. If all the crows on your map are flapping at the exact same time, it's uncanny. And I'm wondering if we can set timers on the animations, or maybe even a delay on some of them or something, maybe so they just don't start all at the same time. maybe they start based on when they were placed in the map, like a sequencing or something. I don't know.
I think this could pretty easily be a feature that we set on our objects, like the ones we have added to Dungeon Alchemist, the official assets. Like you say, some objects make sense to be in sync. By the way, if you hear some like loud bangs, someone has just started setting off fireworks in like very close to me. So if you hear that, that's what you're hearing. Not sure why. Anyway, so yeah, it's not difficult. It's more a matter of is this like a feature we should add to like assets from the workshop as well? Maybe a flag that says like, hey, there's an animation in here. Do you want to randomize the starting point of this animation? I think that's what would make sense.
That
Add a
would be
flag
brilliant.
and just yeah, and then the uploader decides whether it's like a synced animation or a randomized animation. And the same for our objects. We can the ones that we want randomized, we can randomize. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty easy to do.
Fantastic. I mean, if you want to take a note of that, just so you have a mental note of it
Yeah,
later. But something like that, I think, would be great to just make the maps feel more natural.
yeah,
Especially now
agreed.
that animations are such a normal part of our maps. Um, One moment here. Next question. That question from Dag was already addressed earlier, so you can cross that one out. The next one is from Anani on Twitch. How much joy does the community give you that has been building over the years of development?
I think that's for me probably one of the most fun things that is working at for Dungeon Alchemist, the community. Because before that, like I worked on games, and in games you're like working on something isolated for 4 years in your basement or whatever, like not literally, but that's how it feels like. And then you put it out there, and either it clicks and people love it, or it doesn't click, but it can be pretty lonely. While Dungeon Alchemist, because of the Kickstarter, had a community basically right from the start, right at the moment we started developing, and it really propelled all of us forward a lot, and it still does. I think whenever like people apply for work with us, when we were hiring like a new artist or something, or new programmer, it was always one of the first things I said, like um, this is one of the big perks of working on Dungeon Alchemist. It's the fact that you're working for such a enthusiastic, positive, large community that really likes the product and really supports you and cheers you on, and that's pretty special, and it's like something that really I think I speak for the entire team, that really propels us forward.
Honestly, yeah, it's a huge driving force for the stuff behind the scenes, not just in your like suggestions that help us come up with like ideas and things. Like Wim takes your suggestions for assets to heart all the time. And I've
Hmm.
seen this team flip assets in like 2 days that were suggested in our Discord. And it's just crazy how many not just assets but features that have been incorporated into DA over these years. Multi-level is a big one, and roofing. That was something that was never promised in Kickstarter
Hmm.
at all. So I do think that the community being a catalyst and a driving force behind like all the inspiration and the continued love and development on the project, and like just also making it grow to new heights and taking it to places we never anticipated. Definitely community catalyst for sure.
Hmm.
um so let's see here. Next question. um and while we're talking about that, you said you worked on other projects, games, and it just felt like, you weren't really being recognized for the work, I'd say, from a community standpoint. Is that what you were feeling like in your past projects, or?
No, there was just no community. If you're making an indie game, you're just making it, and you hope that your community builds or arrives when the game's finished, right? You don't
Right.
really know before. So you're just working, you're letting it like friends test it and stuff like that. But it's really hard to build a community around a game that isn't out yet, right?
For sure.
So that's what I was saying. Like it's way lonelier to do that than to have this like approach where we did the Kickstarter. We had a community like bloom and explode on our Discord the moment we did the Kickstarter, and it never went away, right? So it was so much fun from the start. That's what I kind of was contrasting.
Gotcha. And to be honest with you, not to just mention that like wave, but there's an insane amount of positivity in our community. I've been involved in many different communities as a creator and a streamer, and there are some really bad communities out there, man. And we tend to have just this very wholesome bunch. I definitely enjoy working with our community day to day. Okay, next question here. Random Ladybird. Oh, you're going to love this one. We've discussed this at length behind the scenes. Would it be hard to make a transparent background rather than the green screen as a biome?
The short answer is yes. Very hard. Look, there's. I'll give a slightly longer answer. Problem number one is what's the image format you want for that? Because if you say PNG, then you're asking for like 1 gigabyte large images that are never going to work anywhere because they're going to be like too big, because PNG is non-compressed. And it does compress a little bit, but it's like lossless. So if the more detail you have in your map, the bigger it's going to be. So that's problem number one. Then there's an alternative. You could, I guess, I think WebP also supports transparency.
It does.
So
it's fractionally smaller, and it works with all the VTTs we use.
Yeah, it's smaller, but it's not supported by default by Unity. So then we would have to figure out like a proper like encoder to convert whatever we have to WebP and make sure that it works with the transparency layer. So that would be an annoyance. I think maybe FFmpeg could actually do it. Because FFmpeg can do everything, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's problem number two. Problem number three is that transparency is kind of weird. Like I think a lot of people ask this for like higher up floors and stuff like that. But what do you do with objects that kind of penetrate multiple levels and stuff like that? Do you make them disappear? Do you not export them? There's a bunch of questions there that need answering. Mac has been asking me for a long time. I can definitely confirm that.
It's not like I'm not passing your suggestions on community.
It's on the list. It's on the list, but honestly, it's not a super high priority for me because I'm a bit afraid that it's gonna be just inconvenient. Like people, like it's kind of the opposite, going in the opposite direction of what the earlier question was about the DPI. Like this is gonna probably crash more VTTs if you do it with large maps and stuff. So we're gonna need like more warnings and stuff. Like it's not gonna be something that's gonna be working out of the box easily, I think.
So I think the reason a lot of people want this is because there's already plugins, modules for, say, Foundry. There's one called Levels, right? And it allows you to put all your images in as layers. And if the images are all solid, it doesn't work, which is what DA is. So if you have transparency on the levels above one, it makes it so it's a stacked, like a cake, if you will, of images. And when you look at it from top down, it's very layered over each other. It looks very clean. So a lot of people want to utilize this feature, which is actually becoming stock in Foundry soon, or is now a stock feature called that they have incorporated a levels type feature. So I think a lot of people want this because if you just put solid maps, it's 8 solid images stacked on each other. You can't see under the top image. So
but it's not going to work. It's not going to work because the grid shifts and the perspective shifts if you go up a layer. So if you overlay them, they're not gonna like align. You're gonna have like kind of a different, slightly different perspective for like the higher up floors, and they're not gonna like sit perfectly on top of the ones below. So because the camera shifts upwards when you export.
Gotcha.
So I actually don't think that's going to work. Yeah.
I know people are already taking the multiple levels and they'll just export in green screen and then they clear out that green area and then they have to make some subtle adjustments, but then it usually works for them. I also remember I shared that Git with you. Did you take a look at that? Did that have anything promising in it, or was that like a nothing burger?
What did you share with me?
I shared a Git repository with you about a month ago or two that had a person figured out how to export the layers above using JSON adjustments to make it transparent of each level. For like it would just export the rooms only or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't taken a look at it.
Okay.
That is something interesting to look into. Let's put this on the wish list file.
No worries. We'll stop discussing it. Move on to another question. This one's from Lord Rev. This one's a funny one. How much bribing would we need to do to get the black and white map assets that Wim showed off? Wim showed off to get them sooner. They want them sooner than later. Oh my goodness.
I get that. They're awesome. That's not gonna happen. Short answer. It's simply I'll explain. The way and this needs a little bit of development background. The way we do like two different versions of Dungeon Alchemist at the same time is with something called branching, Git branching. You don't need to know the specifics, but the way it works is we basically have two versions of the software that we can kind of swap out and swap and switch between. And I'm right now working on the live branch, which is the one which will have the multi-page printing and the bug fixes that is coming in a few weeks. And Wim is configuring all the objects on our master branch, it's called, which is like the version that will turn into eventually into Fun with Objects Part 2. Gotcha. So if we would want to have these black and white objects in the like patch that is coming soon, we would have to configure all of them twice. You would have to go back to the old version, reconfigure, re-import all the images, make sure they're exactly the same than they are in the new version. So it's a total mess, and it just doesn't work. So that's the answer, that like we can't just go back in the other version and add the same objects. So yeah, you'll have to wait.
Okay, so Mondu on Twitch asks, DA has several export options. One of them is color scheme, which currently only offers a printer-friendly grayscale option. How outlandish crazy would it be to add, say, monochrome, maybe pencil strokes, old sepia map, cartoony cel-shaded, i.e. post-processing filters to list down the line? Similar to like how Instagram has filters, yeah. I'd imagine.
I think this has been on Wim's wish list for a long while now. So it's definitely possible. Like, I'm not sure everything he mentions is actually doable. Like if you go to like the pencil strokes, I'm not sure if you can in a nice way convert like an image to something that looks somewhat realistically like pencil strokes, but like a sepia filter or stuff like that, or even like cel shaded, might actually be doable in post-processing. So yeah, it's kind of it's been on the to-do list for a while, but we felt like not a lot of people have been requesting it, so it's not been a priority.
We got Wim watching too. Hey Wim, how you doing?
Hi Wim.
Okay, next, this is from Pike over on YouTube. Will there ever be an option to change skins of objects? Sorry if this question's been addressed previously. I mean, there are a lot of objects that have the option to change their skins already, like a lot of furniture.
Yeah.
That said, I would love more of that, but that's probably more a question for Wim, who happens to be here right now. Maybe he'll address it in chat.
Yeah.
More skins, Wim. Go
I
ahead.
do know Wim is very actively adding to like the new objects, is very kind of enthusiastic in adding more customization options with new objects. So yeah, I do expect more of that in the future. Most objects now are also kind of designed with that in mind. We was also working on some like Wim or the art team is working on some like very customizable closets and stuff like that you can even like have different wood textures on and stuff and things like that. So we're working on that, but like in the general sense, like can we make every object skinnable or something like that? That's just a crazy amount of work, I guess, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
So like adding, say, the, like the option for metal where you can set it as rusted or like a different whatever, that would be hard to add to every metal object.
Yeah.
It's just not practical.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's because every object has to be configured one at a time, all the, skins for them, all of the textures, all of the whatever. Anyway, okay, let's see here. Lalandra has a question from Twitch. This gets brought up a lot. For roofs, is there any chance of custom edging like gutters? I was thinking of having it work like kind of like the walls, but on roofs instead. I'm not sure what they're getting at there. Lilandra, do you care to elaborate there?
I think I understand. Like you have the roofs and you have the roof borders, and next to those you could attach gutters to the roof borders. I think that's what this question
kind
is
of about. How we extended the walls, so to speak, but out in a different direction.
Yeah. Well, I really would like to add more customization options to the roof system. It's not currently on our immediate roadmap, but it is something we would really love to do. And if we do that, then that might also include gutters. I'm not sure that's something we would have to look into with Wim. But we would really love to like allow people to customize the roofs a bit more and add like maybe these like, I don't know what they're called in English, these windows that stick out of the roof, those kind of things.
Where it has like that arch and it's a window popping out, like a gable.
Yeah, a gable, something like that. Maybe chimney, stuff like that. I would love to do that all.
Dormer
just
windows
a matter of
is what they're called, I guess.
Yeah. When it's gonna happen, I'm not sure. We'll see.
Gotcha. Okay, Highland Lass has a really good question for you. What is your favorite feature in DA?
I think it's the roofs. It's that's also because it's by far the most complicated thing I've ever programmed, I think. And it's also pretty much like first in world. There's literally no other software that actually does this. It didn't exist. Like there wasn't like a theoretical algorithm called the straight skeleton algorithm, which was devised in like the 90s or something. There were papers about it, and there was software to generate these shapes, but it was not like real time. It was like super slow, and it didn't work with all the shapes and stuff like that. So I had to implement and do a lot of research myself to get this to work. So I'm very proud of it that I actually got it to work.
Sorry? I just whispered techno wizard. Like I said earlier.
I'm proud of it, and it feels pretty magic to me. Like the moment you make like this a complex building shape and you move up in the layers, and it's just like, there's a roof there, and it looks plausible and it looks cool. That always kind of thrills me, especially knowing how long I worked on it. And Jesus.
Oh man, I remember the stages of you working through it, because you would like kind of share it to me here and there. And I remember when you and Wim shared me like the kind of early stages of flat roofing, And I was like, this is great. Are you guys working on angled roofing? And you were like, we got to get angled roofing working.
Yeah. Look, this is like something, a good example of like, at first we're going to do this step by step, and we're going to first do flat roofs, and then later we can build on top of that, and we can do slanted roofs. And then we started testing after we got the flat roofs working, and we quickly realized that everyone, including ourselves, were confusing the flat roofs with rooms because you couldn't really tell the difference. They could just be like rooms that were on the next layer, and you wanted to place objects on them, and you wanted to do all this kind of stuff with them that you could do with normal rooms, change the walls or whatever, and you couldn't do it.
So it felt
So
unintuitive.
yeah. So we were like, this is too confusing. We want to do the flat roofs because people sometimes want flat roofs, but we don't want it to be the default. We want the default to be obviously a roof and not like a building with partial, like small walls around it. And then I took the plunge, and the reason why I initially didn't want to do it was because it would postpone the update by like several months, which it did, because the algorithm, like I said, didn't exist. Like the algorithm did exist. That's not true. The algorithm did exist. There was no implementation
Just
that
not
worked.
for this use case.
Yeah, no, yeah, and actually, I first started. There was one implementation that I found, written by some kind of Swiss professor, and I mailed him and I said like, hey, can I try your software? He was charging money for it, so I was like, can I test it, see if it works for us? And he was super unfriendly and um, un kind of not helping at all. Like after testing, there were a bunch of issues, and I sent them to him, and I was like, "Hey, this doesn't really work for our use case because these and these and these reasons." And he just sent like a dry email back saying like, "I'm a researcher. I don't care for this practical nonsense." Like I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it like what he kind of said, and it angered me
That's
so
so
much
on
that I
brand, though,
yeah, it
for a
angered me so
researcher.
much that I was like, well, fuck you, man. I'm not paying you money. I'm making your software myself, but I'm doing it better. And then I spent like 3 months doing that.
I'm glad you did. Honestly, though, like I remember like early versions of it, iterations, and you guys had me test it, and then we had a meeting. You're like, "What are your thoughts?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, we're getting there, but I don't know if the community will be happy with it or they'll be confused." And that's when we kind of pivoted and went to angled roofing and the UI changes. And I'm really happy with the direction it took, like how it is now. And honestly, I know our community is really happy with the current state of roofing, and I'm sure it'll just get even better with time and more options available to us. Um, I got a few more questions. I don't want to keep you forever. I know it's late there. Um, how much longer do you think we could hold you for safely?
It's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll stick
Um,
around.
you'll stick around. Okay. Well, we'll try to get through them quickly, regardless. Um, this is from Rockwood Academy on YouTube. um, Are you planning on grouping objects into categories that way so our imported downloaded assets would be put into the room generation tool?
No.
So
That.
yeah,
No.
I know why licensing primarily is a big issue.
That is an issue. Also, just simply there's a couple of steps that you have to take to make objects work with the AI. For starters, they need like when we configure objects, we have more configuration options than people who upload to onto the Steam Workshop. We have some advanced options that are not available, and they're related to how the AI behaves. Like you
Can I
can
show them
tell.
that little screenshot that Quentin shared the other day of the configurations? Can I share
Yeah,
them that? Okay, I'll pull that up
yeah,
real quick
sure.
while you're talking.
So it's yeah, no. Just not gonna happen. It's too involved to add something to the AI system.
One moment. I'm trying to open this. This is kind of like a background back-end tool that they use to configure the AI for each object. like each floor piece and each wall and everything. And this is just a fraction of the configuration options.
Yeah, it's like the thing we realized at some point with the AI was the initial step was that Wim would make like 9 rooms with of like 9 tavern great halls or 9 bedrooms, and the AI would analyze the rooms and the layouts and would kind of deduce how each object should behave. And this works to a certain extent, but then we realized like, all right,
1
in a
second,
bedroom,
boss.
for
I
example.
don't mean to cut you off. The stream crashed on Twitch, so they're not getting any of this. Just 1 second. I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off mid-sentence there.
Sure.
I just want to make sure they hear it. It does this sometimes, and it's just internet stuff, Twitch stuff, so we'll just wait a moment. It'll come back.
Yeah, all right. I'll wait.
I apologize. There, we are back. Let's give them just a moment to refresh. Okay. Hold on. They're saying they're getting it back. Everyone's refreshing now. Let's give them about 30 seconds. We can dive back into that. I apologize there. That just was horrible timing that happened. For any number of reasons. It could be my internet, it could be Twitch, it could be any number of carriers between my internet and Twitch, or any number of things with the stream. Multi-stream has an issue and can crash randomly. So, apologize. My apologies there, everyone. We should be back now. Okay, I'll let you go back into what you were saying.
All right, so I'm going to reiterate. So I was explaining how we got to the current AI configuration system because we kind of never talked about this publicly, I guess. So the initial idea was that Wim would design like 9 bedrooms, and then the AI system would analyze these bedrooms and kind of deduce how the objects should be placed when you draw a new bedroom. And that works to a certain extent, but then we realized that, for example, for a bedroom, like the bed is the most important object, obviously. And if you draw a really small bedroom, you always want to have a bed and not a closet standing in the way of the bed, right? If you have to choose in a bedroom between a closet and a bed, you want the bed. But the AI can't really deduce this from the examples because every bedroom had a closet and every bedroom had a bed. So as far as the AI was concerned, these were like same value objects for a bedroom. It couldn't really know that a bed was more important.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
we added
Father,
another.
You trained me incorrectly.
Yeah,
every room deserves a closet and a bed.
Exactly. So we kind of added a system called layers where we prioritize. We drag different objects into different layers, and in this case, we would like drag the bed into an earlier layer so that it's always generated before all the other objects. And in addition to that, you can also configure certain layers to spawn differently if something wasn't really working very well. Like, for example, there's a bunch of objects that we just kind of want to scatter randomly. Like in a library, we might want some random scrolls on the floor here and there, like these tiny objects or like rubble in the temple. And then we can just set this object to full random spawning instead of like the AI trying to figure out why we placed like the 30 rubble pieces in this exact position relative to the other rubble, and like it would like try to deduce some logic from it, and there just is no logic. It was just randomly placed. So then we can tell the AI like, hey, this is actually just random. Don't try to make sense of it. So this is like a post-processing step we do after the maps are designed, where we fine-tune the AI by configuring the different layers. And this is also very important. So it like adding an object to an example isn't like to a room config isn't that easy. You need to go through these steps. So that's a long answer to a short question, but like sounded like a good moment for me to kind of explain how the AI system works.
No, honestly, I appreciate you going in depth because I don't even know some of this stuff, you know? So, and kind of reiterate what the question was before everything cut off. They wanted to know if objects from the workshop or objects you import yourself can be incorporated into room generation. And that's just not going to happen for many different reasons. But the main one would be, you know, it's just really hard to configure each object to be in a space that makes sense. And we give you the option to add these objects, but that logic isn't something we could potentially add in the back end easily, or And on top of all that, there's a licensing issue too. You know, you created that object, you own the rights to it, or maybe you sourced it from somewhere else. We really shouldn't be incorporating it in our AI. And while we're discussing AI, I just want to bring up anyone who may be curious. Dungeon Alchemist AI is developed entirely in-house. It's not a generative AI. It's kind of a last-gen AI, a procedural AI, as you like to call it, a last-gen AI. I got that from you, actually. And at no point was any public maps or art or assets used in the training or development of our AI. It's all done in-house. We have a talented team of developers and artists who put a lot of work and love into this product. So it's nothing like your ChatGPT, Midjourney, Claude, anything like that. And it runs entirely on your computer. So there's no, you know, draining of rivers or lakes to run an AI as it's run locally. So very ethical, above board, and created ethically and sourced ethically, and everything from top to bottom ethical. Anyway, just wanted to cover that while we were discussing AI at length for anyone who might be new here. As AI tends to get people to twitch a little bit. So anyway, moving on. Mondu has a quick question. Mondu says, we asked Wim and got his answer, but a second opinion is always appreciated. When do you think Fun with Objects Part 2 will come out?
Win probably said something like next year or.
So I'll tell you. Do you want to know? I want to see what you say before I tell you what he said. Actually, no one say anything in chat.
I'm saying,
hey, Dag. Okay,
before summer. That's
before summer. Okay, so Wim's formula. Let me tell you what Wim's formula is for your development. He says whatever you say, and he adds 3 months. So he told us August would be a safe bet. That's end of summer. You're saying before summer. We're getting two totally different answers here.
But Wim's formula, he did apply it successfully to my answer.
Yeah, Wim's logic makes sense because he has a lot of experience to base it off of. But also, Karl likes to surprise us from time to time. You never know. And it is summer in other countries right now. That is a loaded statement, my friend. So let's just say before, you know, let's say before Karl's and mine's summer is what he's estimating for. But I say, you know, let's try to, you know, weigh what both of them have said. Before summer and end of summer. So hopefully sometime in the summer is what we can angle towards. Or around the summer. Honestly, I'm excited for Fun with Objects too. I can't wait to get my hands on it. We've been talking about it behind the scenes. It's getting closer every day. Hopefully after this patch comes out, figure something out. That said, okay, do we have... Oh, this isn't a question, but it's more of a appreciation from Sack. I just wanted to say thanks for all your hard work and congratulations on an excellent program. Also, kudos on your genius with the roof algorithm.
Thanks. Is it SAC or SAC? I've been wondering for like years.
I mean, I've always called him SAC. That being said, you know, if it's SAC, I'll feel really awkward all of a sudden. Either works, so we're good.
All right.
So when we do collaborations, it's a Sack and Mac collaboration collab. Smack, that works. Man, do you remember those? That cereal, Smacks? Oh gosh, Twitch.
Oh yeah, they still sell them in Belgium.
Do they?
Yeah.
Twitch yes, the frog.
Yeah, I like it.
Twitch just crashed again, but it's back. It's already back. That is so weird that it's doing this today. I have to take a look at all this. Nope, it just did it again. Fantastic. Well, let's talk and try and answer these last couple questions and let you end your night here, because I know it's getting late and I don't want to keep you any longer than we have to. Let's see here. Refreshing. Hopefully it'll come back. It's funny, all our other platforms are still live. There's no issue. We're live on Steam still, live on YouTube still, we're live on Facebook still. It just crashed on Twitch, so it makes me think it's something on Twitch. Okay, we are back. We're back. Thank you everyone for waiting. Appreciate you. If this does crash during the stream on Twitch, just hang out, refresh a couple of times. We'll be back. I will not bail on you without saying goodbye. Okay?
Or go to YouTube maybe.
Yeah, or watch on
stream from
YouTube. Yeah,
there.
that's probably a good idea if you can. If you're not already, check us out on YouTube. Because it's definitely not crashing at the moment there. So, alrighty. Last couple questions from the stream. Unfortunately, we weren't able to address any Discord questions, but that's okay. We had a lot of stream questions. Let's see here. Will we... This one's from Highland Lass. Will we get gabled ends rather than hipped roof? So this is more roof questions.
What are
I think they just want
ends?
more diversity in the roof options at the end of the day.
Gabled roof. Let me Google that. Oh, yeah, roofs like that.
I think one of the biggest concerns is right now there's some instances, they want like different diversity in roofs and styling, but also there's some instances where the roof like recesses where water would build up, and it makes zero sense logically for a roof to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of it being flat up against and being an angle where it runs off, it has like a dip, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, what I would like to do, and it's perfectly possible, that is allow people, like in The Sims, there's no automatic roof generation, but there is like a system where there's points on the roof that you can kind of drag back and forward. And I would like to add a similar feature to Dungeon Alchemist where there's like a roof generated, but you can basically drag the corners or like the points where like different lines come together and allow you to kind of drag them around. And this would allow you to make gabled roofs by dragging them like all I want to do. And it's definitely something I took into account while developing the roof system. It's on the roadmap somewhere. I can't really promise
like a roof node, if you will.
Yeah.
Will that allow for wonky, not necessarily, perfectly matching tiles that are like weirdly shaped?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
It should.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's, somewhere down the road is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's not going to be in this update. That I can say. Maybe in the next one, we'll see.
What is going on today with the stream? Let's hurry and try to get this interview done so we can get you off before it crashes anymore. Okay. Dag has a question. I've seen complaints about too many pillars. I'm assuming this is related to large rooms in the old room generation prior to at least the AI update. That was a big issue where, if the room was too big, it would just generate lots of tables or lots of pillars to try and fill the space. Pillars make sense in a large room because you need the roof supported. But at the same time, hundreds of them don't make sense. So I feel like that was properly addressed a bit with the AI update.
It was addressed a bit. The table thing is still a thing where you like, if you draw a really large room, it kind of fills it up with tables. But honestly, like, what else should we do? If you draw like a really massive bakery, should we just leave it empty entirely, or should we fill it with like tables filled with baked goods? That's kind of dilemma we've been like internally struggling with. Like, it doesn't look very realistic to have like this grid of tables in the middle of a room. I agree, but also it's not realistic to draw a 30 by 30 meter bakery room, right? Or a toilet or whatever. So there's like something there where like I literally don't know how to fill it up.
You don't know our community that well if you're saying that. They'll make the biggest toilet rooms you've ever seen. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, though, I get it. And honestly, our AI doesn't predict, it doesn't read your mind, and it doesn't know what you're envisioning when you're generating this room. And I think that's where some crossover happens. And it's like, I think a lot of people's perception of AI is they type in something and it responds to what they typed. So they kind of expect something similar. But DA is more guided. You give it some choices. You go through, your drop downs, give it some options, and generate the environment of the room. Now, that being said, there's only so many presets it will go through before it generates a certain space based on certain sizes and shapes. There's only a limited amount of pre-configurations we could give it. I don't think it learns over, it doesn't learn and become smarter. So it's really just what it has available. But AI updates are pretty regular. It seems like in the time I've been with the company, it's happened several times now. where
Yeah.
we constantly are trying to improve the speed of it, but also the logic behind it,
Yeah,
because we add new
absolutely.
room types, new objects, and they need to be kind of reinserted into those old trainings as well. So anyway, yeah, a bunch of people went over to YouTube after this last crash. I think everyone just kind of gave up on Twitch. There's like a bunch of people on YouTube now. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Karl. Honestly, the work you do is such an inspiration. I am always just at awe, like the way you explain things and the way you approach these problems and also solve them, because it's far above my head. And I'm just glad I get to work with you and with this community. It's always so fun to see them react to the magic you spin up in your the dev cave, as I call it. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, really quickly, for anyone who just tuned in, Karl is our lead developer. Um, the brain behind a lot of what you do and interact with in Dungeon Alchemist. We discussed today a few things at length, answered a bunch of questions. Really quickly, I just want to cover a couple things that we discussed. Rotating objects on any axis is something that's being worked on, developed at length, and being fine-tuned. The ability to split up a map into smaller maps for print is something that will be released in a patch forthcoming in the next few weeks, hopefully before the end of February is
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah.
And then additionally, GeForce Now is something that we're working on in the interim for Dungeon Alchemist, allowing cloud-based map making. Finally, after all this time, we finally have them all in one place. Anyway, I just, again, thank you for all you do for our community, and thank you for your hard work. And I'm just so grateful you were able to set aside a small amount of time to hang out with us today. I would very much love to have you on again in the future.
Yeah. Let's try to do this more than once every 3 years or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to have you on like once every 6 months or so. It'd be great.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's aim for that. Yeah,
For sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, everyone. If you just take a moment, say thank you, say goodbye to Karl, give him a warm goodbye so he can, read all the kind words and everything before he ends his evening. And we will wrap up the interview segment and then move on to the next segment.
All right.
Hold on one second here. We got a bunch of chat coming through. Icebreaker says, goodbye, Karl.
It's actually spelled somewhat differently.
Yeah, it's Carol.
Yeah,
I just pronounce it Karl because of my U.S. upbringing. I'm sorry. I'm probably pronouncing it a little wrong.
I introduce myself as Karl as well, because if you have to pronounce it, like if English-speaking people pronounce it like that, it sounds weird. It's like way more off than Karl.
So it's probably my fault that it was,
that
they're
fine.
spelling
No
it
worries,
that way.
No worries.
Mondu says, thank you for your code wizardry and dedication. Atlan
You're
says,
welcome.
thank you for your awesomeness. Twitch is getting stable all of a sudden, of course, right as he's leaving. Colt says, thank you. You know what? Shim's saying, can we book a drum session too? You know what? Now that we have discussed this twice now, I think what we need to do is I'll just get on his case a little bit in between now and the next stream. Be like, have you been practicing, boss? And then that way, the next time we have him on, he won't have any excuses, because it won't be, oh, you didn't remind me early enough to practice. It'll just be, I didn't practice. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Gonna shift the blame to him next time. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fair. That's fair.
Thank you so much for, again, Karl, for sharing this hour with us. You have such a lovely evening. Say hello and thank you to Ilsa, and again, appreciate you. We'll chat again soon in the next coming days.
Yeah.
See you
have fun
around,
with
Karl.
the rest of the show.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We're gonna hurry and drop him off here. Take me a moment. Hide the collab cam. Mute the collab cam. Fantastic. Okay. Let me move my camera here because it was to the side. Oops. And lastly, we'll move our key back to center. Hey, Amazed Wombat, welcome to the stream. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Pleasure to have you here. If you have any questions, you tuned in at the exact right time. This next segment in our stream is called Damn Questions. During this segment, we answer your questions in real time and showcase answers for you on the stream. So if you have any support inquiries, need guidance in your map making, maybe you're looking at a map on the workshop wondering how they did it. Oh yeah, music is probably a bit too loud. Let me fix that. Sorry about that. I always forget right after that. It's way too loud. My bad. Because I have to turn up the sound for his mic to be louder when it comes through. And then after, I forget. So, whoops. Wasn't it just fantastic having Karel on the stream? Karel. We have now had both of our lead developers on the stream in the last few months. It's just been an absolute blast. Amanda, that's a really good question. So Amanda on YouTube asks, is a Brazilian teacher and Star Trek fan, will we have sci-fi theme in the app in the future? So sci-fi, cyberpunk, modern, apocalyptic, all of these things are asked about a lot. A lot of people want to get their map style in Dungeon Alchemist because it's such a great tool. It's really easy to use. It makes great maps. It exports well for many different platforms. So, it'd be great if you could use it for, instead of Pathfinder, Starfinder, or any number of sci-fi or cyberpunk-based systems, right? So, in its current state, Dungeon Alchemist can make maps that work in those aesthetic with support through the Steam Workshop. That means you can click this tab here, you can click Browse Assets, and you can search sci-fi or, whatever. But there's hundreds of thousands of objects shared with just the sci tag. There's 569. Let's search sci-fi. See. Over 1,500 currently. That's about 1/4 of the total objects that are stock in DA, just available as third-party, sci-fi assets. Now, that being said, these assets can be downloaded and incorporated into your maps, and sci-fi maps are being built and shared rather regularly. In the future, though, we plan to, after we leave early access, offer optional expansions, which means after we've delivered on all of our, Kickstarter promises, our stretch goals from our Kickstarter, then we will offer optional expansions that would essentially be, if you will, a downloadable expansion that gives you hundreds of thousands of objects, dozens, if not, 30 plus room types, doors, walls, windows, floors, etc., all set in that aesthetic. And then it would plug into the existing Dungeon Alchemist architecture and allow you to build maps in that theme with the existing tools. What that would be like in the future remains to be seen entirely. Will it be like a switch you flick and so it's only sci-fi, or will you get access to everything all at once and then it's just more sci-fi prominent as a result of that expansion? How much those expansions will cost, what exactly will be entailed, how many assets entirely is up to be determined in the future when we get to that point. But it will be after we have left early access and have delivered on all our Kickstarter goals. But there's hundreds of sci-fi maps available, so you can see what other people have done. I highly encourage you to download them, because when you download a map that has assets like this, it'll prompt you to download those as well, so you can build up a collection of sci-fi assets. Alternatively, if you go to the asset browser and go to collections, there are starship collections, donut collections, But there are sci-fi assets listed in these collections here that you can just download, close to 100 plus assets all at once. This one was actually a gift from our art team. Anyway, so it's possible to do sci-fi now as long as you're okay with building everything by hand. However, in the future, there likely will be an expansion, a couple years down the road, minimum, that would offer something like that built into it, room generation, etc. But yeah, this pipe dragon's rather dope. I found this map on the workshop, and I just thought it was neat. The Mecha Dragon gives me some serious, like, Mecha Godzilla vibes. Lalandra, are you watching on Steam right now? Is Twitch giving you a guff today? Sorry. I feel bad because we had some questions from our Discord that I didn't get to answer today on stream. It's okay, though. Happens sometimes. By the way... Oh, okay, so Chim... Oh, wait, do we have a question from Amazed Wombat we need to address first? I want to make sure I get that one. Did I miss their question, Atlam? To delete a wall, all you do is go to, well, if it was added through the wall tool, like the room generation or the wall tool, you just go to the wall tool and hit the delete wall tab. And then you can shrink the wall brush to, small or make it really large. And then you can delete a single wall or, a wall in an entire area. Since this is multiple floors here, weird that it's upper levels. You see here, I'm just kind of rolling over it like an eraser. So you essentially have the remove wall tool that allows you to delete walls. Though, if that isn't exactly what you're trying to do, or if that isn't what you're, going for, if you join our Discord, you can share the map, share images, share video, and it makes it a little bit easier. We have dedicated forums just for that. We have a question forum and a support forum. Yeah, it might be a very extreme use case here. Looking at the map or an image of it would help tremendously. If you want to get a different angle, you can always click this camera here to go into cinematic mode, which is like a drone, right? And you can get down on the ground level and look up. Make sure you raise all the floors before you do that, though. But the drone cameras are really simple. You can, get a big angle on everything. Or you can get up really high. Alternatively, if you place a token on the map, under the token menu, you can walk around and view the map in first person if you click the icon here. The eyeball icon. So you have multiple ways you can view a map, if you will. So traditionally, our map making tool is to help you export your map in a top-down, kind of like either a flattened or a 3D perspective for traditional gameplay, right? Most people play, D&D in a top-down, either theater of the mind or with a map. And in this case, we help you make the map, and then you can export it in this perspective. But sometimes you want other angles to give your players, like handouts or like an image that you can give them so they have a different perspective. Or maybe they have a question about the view and want to get another angle on it. Dungeon Alchemist is great for that reason. It's not just a top-down map anymore. You can get in at all these different angles, take screenshots, share them with your players, record video, give them tours. You can even stream this to them over Discord or Zoom or Teams or whatever. It's another way to immerse your players, especially if they're very visual as learners. It helps them out a lot. Like my son is kind of new to D&D as a whole, and the only reason I was able to convince him is because of stuff like this, views like this, because he was so used to video games, he didn't really want to play D&D. But then when I offered, these other options, angles for him, it helps him visualize the map more, and he likes it even more. But yeah, Wombat, if you drop in our Discord, we can help even further, in detail with your map specifically. By the way, everyone, it looks like Twitch has been working fine for the past little bit, so it's so strange that we had that issue to begin with. Anyway, okay, we had a question come up from, was it Chim? I am about to upload a lot of critters. I think I want to try and bundle them. So you want to make a collection, is what you're saying, Chim? I'm assuming that's what you're going for. I know why it's lonely on Steam, Atlam. By default, chat is hidden. Usually they don't let you open it, so you have to enable it on your streams. So a lot of people don't even know it exists. So you'll upload the assets as normal, right? Jim, once you've uploaded the assets, you'll then go to Steam. You can either do it through the Steam browser or through the Steam app, right? And to get to this point in the Steam app, you would go to your library, you would select Dungeon Alchemist, and you click Workshop, right? Show my image. Oh, there it is. Once you're in the Workshop panel, whether it's in Steam or in your browser, right? You can also browse collections, which is a viewing option we have for objects in the Workshop. You can browse collections of them, like that sci-fi collection I showed a bit ago. So you've uploaded all your assets at this point, all your critters, as you discussed. You would go to this into Steam, into the Workshop tab under Dungeon Alchemist, click Browse, click Collections, right? Now you're in the collection browser, right? At this point, you can click Create Collection. So you give your collection a title, you give it an image. You're going to need some screenshots of your assets probably to share, or a grouping of them and a graphic that shows a bunch of them. And then a description. And then you definitely want to tab the subscribe to all, and you set it as asset. And then just make sure you add all the assets to it after. So once you've created the collection, you go through and add all of them to this collection through Steam. There's no way to do it through Dungeon Alchemist at this time. Hope that answers your questions there, Chim. So again, you would open Steam, go to your library, click Dungeon Alchemist, click Workshop, then under the Browse tab, hit Collections. From here, you hit Create Collection. Hope that helps you out. And what that does is it puts your assets, you group them up. The new Damn Challenge theme is Shop, Anani. It's marqueeing on the stream right now. So you can put groups of objects together, right, into a single group that can be downloaded as a whole. That's the point of a collection. So let's say you put a bunch of critters, 50 critters in a single collection, someone can download them all at once instead of individually. It saves them a ton of time. No worries, Anani. I'm here to tell you the obvious. How you doing today, my friend? Oh my gosh, I learned something today. Karel told me he's going to start DMing for the first time ever. That's crazy. He's never DM'd before. But then he makes a tool that so many DMs know and love. I'm wondering if it'll give him a unique new perspective on Dungeon Alchemist going forward. You're focused on your food. Did you bring enough to share with the class? Right? And it's crazy how many times devs don't really get to use their own product as much. Because there's like so many devs I've worked with in the past, like the Battlefield devs, a lot of them like didn't play the game as much as their fans did. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool though that Karel is going to be kind of learning how to DM, and also it'll give him a unique perspective on DA. I think a freshened perspective. He mentioned that Wim is DMing again, and he noticed things that are not like present that he needs. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so do we have other questions rolling in? If not, I can dip back to questions from our Steam thread. One moment. Stand by. Pull up this question sheet. You know, I think I might have addressed them all. Okay, never mind. Well, we'll see if I had any questions from Discord really quickly while we wait, and then we'll move on to our next segment, if not. Sadly, these questions were for Karel, so unfortunately I cannot... Sadly, I cannot ask them. What is going on with Twitch today? I don't know what's up with Twitch today. It's definitely acting up. I'll have to go through and see. Could just be Twitch, or could be my internet even. Any number of things. Wombat, I'm glad we were able to address your concerns. Yeah, most likely. It could also be, though, like a setting in my stream configuration. I didn't notice Twitter dropped, but it's possible. Oh, okay, Eric. Hope you're well, my friend. Let's just call YouTube old reliable. Man, Stream Chat is so delayed right now in Streamlabs. I'm wondering if it's Streamlabs is the problem. It's like 5 minutes behind right now. Something's up for sure. I just refreshed my stream chat here. Hopefully it's a bit better because it's way behind. That's kind of the cool thing about our community and the ability to import assets. Like, we've given the tool to you that if there isn't an asset available for you, you know, if, oh, I need a very specific looking staff or a donut or something that isn't a stock thing in Dungeon Alchemist, you can check the workshop first, which there's thousands upon thousand, over 13,000 assets shared publicly on the workshop now and growing daily. Soon the assets will surpass how many maps we have on the workshop. Now, that being said, these really do fill those niches quite a bit. Oh, nice. I'll check it out. Thank you, for sure. Hope everything's all right, Eric. Honestly, so Streamlabs, like the last couple of streams, has been having issues, and I'm just hoping it's a temporary hiccup. Oh, cool, cool. But I love the Steam Workshop because our community can share more than just maps. They can share 3D models to, you know, change your maps entirely. Like Swedish Cook shared this like little rounded tavern. Like, it's a neat little bar, a pop-up bar you could put outside of a building or in one. Great little asset. It's really fun when the community, you know, enriches each other as a whole by sharing their work and time that way. No, I just had this up while we were discussing questions. I need something in the background instead of just a blank slate sometimes, so my mind can think. If I have to demonstrate something, I like a blank map. But otherwise, nah. Fantastic, Wombat. By the way, Eric, I told the group if they have any downtime that they want to do while, you know, between sessions to talk to you or bring it up now, so it's not a last minute thing, but I don't think they took it to heart, so we'll see. But yeah, next Sunday, our game's getting back together for the first time in a month, and one of our members was gone last month, so we did a side quest. So, and one was gone the month before, so we did another side quest. It's like they weren't gone the month before. So anyway, it's been kind of like, one thing after another. one of the players in our group almost had to step away, but we all kind of stepped up and offered to help him. So we were able to kind of make sure they stayed. Really happy about that. Anyway, really excited to get together next Sunday and play, as this group here loves to hear about the aftermath, typically. I will check it out after the stream for sure. That's a good combination there, Chim, for sure. For sure. Alrighty. Is there any questions that came through that I missed while I was addressing prior ones? I want to make sure we're good. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the feature segment. Or the workshop segment, I should say. I guess I'm okay at storytelling or something, Eric, because the group here really likes to hear about our games. Maybe I just got to convince the group to let us start streaming it, so we'd be public. Our next session's next Sunday, actually, Anani. You know, our group's just shy. You know what I mean? Like, they don't like to RP, and they're really shy, and it's just a bunch of friends hanging out, you know, that don't really want to put pressure on it, and that's part of the reason we decided not to stream it from the start, right? We just wanted a place where we can relax and not have to worry about that extra, like, strain. But yeah, even after a year, our group still doesn't like RP. A lot of our group, like I'm the like me, myself, and like one other person have really put some effort into RP. I feel like, but not everyone gets into it, and I get it. They're just there to play and, you know, and relax. They don't want to put like a stress on it. See, that's the thing. We're just like, it's a personal group. Exactly, and I think part of the reason they like enjoy it is there's really just no pressure on it to perform like a stream would be, and that we get to just hang out as buds and vibe. That being said, you know me, I love streaming. I'm all for it, streaming or being in a group that's, you know, D&D and streaming, but I think it's all about finding the right group, right? That's down for that or wants it. I think that's why groups like, you know, Critical Role and Dimension 20 and Evantris have found so much like success, is because they're performers as well. Like, they're natural performers, you know, doing voiceover actors, you know, live action acting, and it lends to their ability to be entertainers in a D&D campaign. That being said, though, I do think that, you know, it also is hard for them to write a structured story that is, or to not write a structured story is what I should say. I feel like a lot of, like, for instance, Critical Role now is kind of on rails. I don't think it's as impulsive or, like, dice driven as we may be led to believe. That's my personal opinion, by the way. But you know, that basically got tabled almost indefinitely for the time being. Mainly because some things were happening in the background that, like, I had no influence over, you know? So, it is what it is. It was pretty much a pitch, and that's all it was at the moment. I do appreciate those groups that are making D&D such a popular thing, you know, and really making it mainstream. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit more structured and like scripted. But maybe that's just, like I said, I may just be completely wrong. Anani, that's dope. Teach the younglings D&D so they can learn math and socialize, and yeah. For sure. I think it would lend to our group a bit if we played more than once per month too. Like, we try to be as efficient with our time, and like we miss out on certain things, I feel like, because you know, like the socializing we might get at a shop. We don't do it as much because we end up doing downtime shopping, which is a choice of the group because it interrupts with our gameplay time, which is once a month. So at the same time, that would be a great opportunity for us to RP more. It just doesn't happen as much because of it. We're victims of our own choices, for sure. Well, since there's no more questions coming in, I definitely feel like Dimension 20 is not scripted at all. It feels very off the cuff and impulsive. I don't know. Maybe just, you know, maybe that's just Brennan's style. He just seems genuinely much more flummoxed and like surprised by what's happening. But the way he reacts to his players, I guess, makes it feel more natural and less scripted, in my opinion. And again, like I said, personal opinion. I could be completely wrong. We got Twitch crashing again. So Down Detector's been getting hits for Twitch for the last couple of hours, so there's likely something going on. Probably one of their ingest servers is having trouble. I'd imagine it's the Pacific Coast one, given that that's where I go to. So I don't know. I guess I appreciate the way he DMs a little bit more, and I feel like the production just feels so much more natural and like less on rails. Like the first couple seasons of Critical Role felt very spontaneous and off the cuff, but the last couple did not to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they're so big and corporate now and there's ads and other things, but it is what it is. All right. Well, since the question segment is done, I've given everyone ample time to ask their questions, and there was no more coming in. We're going to move on to our next segment, which is the workshop segment. I wanted to discuss a couple things today on the stream, The workshop segment, during that, we will look at maps that, have a dock or a harbor. I handpicked a few last week and downloaded them. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 in here already that I thought just looked neat and offered that kind of vibe and aesthetic. Our next interview is actually Geronimo. So on the 14th, Geronimo will be joining us. A very special Valentine's Day interview. I forgot it was Valentine's Day when I scheduled it with him. And he's like, hey, that's a holiday, right? And I'm like, oh, I got to stream rain or shine, so it's going to happen regardless. And then he's like, oh, okay. And I was like, but, if you can't attend because, family obligations, time with your wife, I understand. And he's like, no, I'll be there. And it's like, you sure your wife won't be bothered? And he's like, no, not at all. So, gonna buy him chocolate. It's a date, really. So Geronimo and I will be hanging out for, about an hour on the 14th to discuss his map making at length with our community. Warm cat. Warm cat furniture. I gotta know, is that like what type of furniture would that be? Just like a really comfy cat bed? Your name has got me asking so many questions. Geronimo's got a really, unique eye for map making, and he has been probably one of our most prolific and skilled and long-term map makers in our community. He's been pushing the limits of Dungeon Alchemist as long as I can remember. And he's always making maps that really are mind-bending or do things that you're like, wait, how? Well, before we had multi-level, he was taking advantage of multi-level. He's always kind of essentially finding something in Dungeon Alchemist that doesn't work how it should and using it to his advantage. I am very excited to have him on to see, what we can learn from him, right? About his map making style. And also, just to have him as a guest on the show will be great. I love having community members, not just devs, right? So we've had so far 2 devs on the stream, a moderator, and 2 community members. I would like to get a few more community members before we dip back to devs, because I don't have an endless stream of devs, unfortunately. You're the nice warm cat furniture. Have you seen people use those tent displays that are at Target or Walmart that are like a mini tent it's like a miniature version of the full-size tent, but it's fully functional? People will get those and then use them for their cats. And I want one. They should just sell mini tents. Isn't this a nice little balcony, right? It's nice for sure. I also like the way the roof came out here. Looks really good. We don't have a bag of infinite devs, no. Oh my gosh, our group got a bag of tricks in our last session. And I ended up getting control of that. And there's going to be shenanigans with that for sure. Dr. Crocs, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. You know, I was going to say, like, Dr. Crocs, like the shoes, but now I think about it, like, doctors and nurses wear Crocs. Like, a lot of them do, actually. You know, I'm sorry I didn't get all your questions, Atlam. You had a lot, and we had a lot of people present, and I wanted to make sure, you know, we got the viewers' questions. Oh, my marriage is totally fine. My wife, you know, my work schedule is really great for my family because I work from home, right? And I've got a few work days a week where I got to sit aside and dedicate time to, you know, working with our community, working with streamers, working with InfernoZilla or devs, whatever, and then also time for the stream. But it also affords me a lot of free time at home with my family, right? So while I am working that Saturday for a few hours, 2, 3 hours, the rest of the day I'm free. I'm not really on call. And, you know, I also have the day before off and the day after off. So technically, I'm not too worried about it. The 14th of February is just a number. My wife and I can celebrate, you know, our love and our relationship on the 13th or the 15th. It's not tied to a specific day. So I know you had a lot of questions, and they're mainly community questions that have rolled into harder to answer, you know, mod questions. So I get it. That's what a lot of my questions are for him as well. Doesn't it have a face on it, right? It does. You see the eyes and the nose and the smile? It's like Mr. Bill. I like these little outcropped doorway entries. The neat little addition there. Also the alley with the skylight there. These trellises look really good too. This map is very pretty. But one thing I really wanted to bring up with this style of map is docks and harbors are a really important part of storytelling in tabletop gaming. Having at least one map with this is great for your players because it's a point of entry or a point of exit where they can maybe go somewhere to a faraway land. So in the game we play in, the world is called Toivoa. We started on one island called Malaja Rock, and we have moved from that island clear across the world to another island. More like a continent than an island at this point. But that being said, you know, if your world is just one big landmass, you know, you may not find a need for this, but having harbors, docks, great way for your players to, you know, get transport where they're not necessarily walking or riding something all the time. It's a great way for you to insert an element of, you know, mystery or danger. There could be some sort of, you know, bandits running some organization out of the docks, or it could just be fishermen. You know, at the end of the day, it really could be anything you want. Yeah, the floating floor is clever. So essentially here, they've put a wall here on the edge of the map, which allows it to kind of block off this edge here, and it looks more, you know, like a dock, or, you know, that area there, the wharf. And then they made a room in this space here, but it's a room with, you know, no walls, and all it is floors. So essentially no objects, no walls, no windows, and it's just this floor to make this extra dock piece come out like this. And then because it has no walls and there's no underground below it, they could just put some pillars there and it's supported and it looks great. Has Twitch crashed again? Honestly, our view count on Twitch has just completely dropped. We were at like 30, 40 viewers earlier. Now we're only like at 10, and it's because the stream keeps crashing every 10 minutes. Frustrating. I do not blame anyone. But this section of walkway here is all technically a room. It's just a room without any walls or objects on it other than this foliage stuff. Alrighty. Let me pull up a couple more maps. Have any of you used docks or harbors in your gameplay and your storytelling? And if you have, how did you incorporate it into your story? Was it a very critical part of the story, or was it just kind of something in passing? Do you feel it's a useful kind of map or thing to have in the wind if you need to go somewhere where you can incorporate, boat travel? I would love to hear about your experiences with docks and harbors in your campaign. Wait, Colt, you're Highland Lass? This is one of my favorite maps with a dock on it of all time. Everfrost Harbor. Trade factions, that makes sense. You could have some sort of trade union or possibly a seedy underbelly aspect in the docks. Travel and trade are a big, big critical part with harbors. You've only used airships? Well, I mean, airships got to moor somewhere, right? I'm sure there's an equivalent for airships. Like a mooring harbor. Did you know that originally the Empire State Building was designed to allow for blimps to like dock up to it and like accept passengers and drop them off? Yes, way. Warm Cat Furniture, you're a random ladybird. Oh my gosh. All these different names. Different names. I just think they're different people. So funny. Those are called ports as well for airships. Honestly, I didn't know even one existed around the world. I assume most airships just kind of launch from somewhere. Like the Goodyear blimp can just like launch anywhere. That is one nice thing about blimps. Dirigibles, right? Dirigibles sort of took a southward turn in like as far as like manufacturing and use cases after the Hindenburg. Like especially in the US, they just kind of disappeared. So that's why essentially the Empire State Building was built for that like it had that option, but afterwards they never did it anymore because airships, dirigibles were kind of removed from the American market altogether, except for what Goodyear does. Not if King Kong has anything to say about it, right? Tropism. In space, it's also called a port. We're going to call it a space harbor. Spaceport. When aluminum was first like discovered, like alchemists and like chemists and stuff thought it would be like the new gold. Like it was more valuable than gold and platinum. And the only people who had aluminium, as my friends across the pond call it, were like royalty. Silverware plates made out of aluminum. You know, honestly, Chim, I wouldn't doubt it though, like in the future, like because like planes, right? They're like this great way to travel. They're really quick. But they also like people love boat travel, not necessarily because it's fast, because it's comfortable, right? You get to enjoy yourself and have fun on a cruise or on a boat, usually. I think it'd be cool if airships kind of had that novelty to a degree, where there was just, some passenger room for travel that not necessarily, you want to go Concorde fast. You just want to travel and enjoy the view. Who knows? But I could imagine like rich people doing something like that. They just fly around in their private dirigible, because why not? Alrighty, so we've discussed, docks, harbors a little bit. Obviously can be used for trade, travel. You can set up, merchant stuff nearby. You can get goods in that maybe your players ordered and were waiting for. Alternatively, it can be a good place to scoop up work, So, at the end of the day, a good built harbor is very useful for storytelling. And what I love about this one in particular, they combined a couple of things from the workshop, obviously these ships, some stuff that's stock, like, these pieces here. And then, of course, you have these docks that are just made out of ground. So they shaped the terrain, likely made a room here and shaped it to be a perfect, like, hardened square shape, and then deleted the room. You look here, yep, that's exactly the shape of a room. So essentially you could generate a room and then edit the terrain around that room, because the room won't delete. And as you, essentially carve away the terrain, it becomes this nice square shape. And then you can delete the room after, and it's a nice flat, essentially, what would they call it? A causeway? If it's made out of stone, right? Is it still a dock, or is it called a causeway? I guess it could still be a dock if it's made out of stone. Yeah, I'll try to remember as well, but to be honest with you, like, yeah, usernames on YouTube are tied to channel names, so if anyone ever, like, created a channel, that's what their username is, likely. Skyport, though. Definitely love that idea. So with Twitch, like most people just create a username and then they chat like it's their avatar, it's their nickname. I'd say the vast majority of people create an account to chat, not to stream. But on YouTube, it's the inverse nowadays. The vast majority of people creating accounts, yeah, they want to chat and like comment on things, not create content. Oh, so it isn't the inverse. Anyway, back in the day, though, anyone creating an account, that's how they comment, was through their account name. Now you can have like multiple nicknames and stuff and an @ handle and stuff on YouTube. I don't know how it all works. You might be able to get an alternative name, but yeah, I don't know if you can change the one you existingly have. Unless you have certain thresholds of like followers and stuff. Anyway, gosh, does my voice sound a little harsh today? My throat is rough. I could not even talk on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, I spent most of the time just like sipping tea with honey. And then I just didn't say anything the last few days until my voice was better. I wasn't sure if it would sound rough today. I have tried so hard all week to make sure I was better for today because I didn't want to miss out on this stream. I just didn't think I could lock another date with him to be here anytime soon. So very glad. This aesthetic is great. The captain's wheel up here on the deck so the drunks can just steer the bar. It's brilliant. I mean, a lot of my work is my voice, so without my voice, I'm like at a loss, really, you know? Watch some Blake 7. Oh my gosh, yeah, I saw the link you sent me. I could sign. Oh, dang. But then not very many people would be able to understand it. Twitch again, man. Alrighty. We got very little time left in the stream. We're going to cover our last segment. We're going to wrap it up, okay? So, our final segment of the day is features, which I would love to discuss cameras and perspective with y'all. Hopefully this stream is back on Twitch by now, so we can discuss this at length. Looks like Twitch is back up. So, Jason, I'll be honest with you. It was never really our intention to export the 3D environment. When Dungeon Alchemist was designed, it was designed as a tool you could build in 3D so you have a lot of control over the build, right? You can get your objects exactly where you want them. And then you can export it in a top-down, your traditional, either flattened or, that 3D perspective top-down, right? And that's what we set out to accomplish when Dungeon Alchemist was created. So there really was never an intention to offer an export in 3D. Now, as Dungeon Alchemist has been developed, over the past few years, there's been a couple developments in 3D-based virtual tabletops. You have like Tailspire, you have, the optional mods for things like Foundry with 3D Canvas. And then you have, of course, Project Sigil, which, was a big investment of Hasbro and D&D Beyond, and then they let it run for a year and canned it. So, while I am very interested to see where 3D VTTs go, for the time being, I don't think that's really a thing Dungeon Alchemist is going to put any time or investment into. It wasn't something it was designed for, to export as a 3D model or into a 3D engine or into a 3D VTT. The models in Dungeon Alchemist are made with special care, and many of them are actually a lot of smoke and mirrors. So while they look really beautifully detailed and have textures, they're simple flat objects with like wallpaper on them that's really detailed. So while it looks textured, it wouldn't necessarily be ideal for 3D printing or even a 3D engine, because there would be it'd just be like a white blob. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't designed with that intent. We'd have to essentially gut DA and redesign it from the ground up to cater to 3D exports of any kind, which is something the devs just don't really want to do for several reasons. They prefer the traditional top-down aesthetic for gameplay. Additionally, we would have to essentially pivot and work on this when we already have many promises from our Kickstarter and plans already that we need to follow. And then lastly, to be honest with you, and I don't mean to offend anyone when I say this, 3D virtual tabletops and gameplay for D&D is such a niche thing right now. There's only a couple things out there that offer it, and some of them are like an add-on for Foundry. It's not even a stock feature in Foundry. And then you have Tailspire. Tailspire is an enclosed ecosystem, so you have to make the map in their tool and then play in their tool. You can't build a map in DA or in Blender or in Unreal Engine and then import it. So, and then lastly, at the end of the day, I think, and this is not as big of a concern, but I think that, in order to make all that work would just take so much astronomical amount of time and man hours. With our small team, it's just not viable to make it happen. In the future, who knows? But for right now, I don't think there is at least a tentative future where DA would have a 3D export. So, and Sigil failing miserably isn't necessarily any fault of the developers. They put out a decent product, but it seems like Hasbro didn't really have faith in the product. You know what I mean? They fired most of their team out the gate, didn't really advertise the product, pushed it out, and essentially didn't really give them enough time to fully develop it. Like, imagine if DA came out and 6 months after it came out, Briganti was like, sorry, not getting the results we want. We're just going to call it. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems very corporate driven instead of community driven. It definitely seems like the decision was made from a boardroom or a spreadsheet instead of like from a perspective of, a person in their community or anyone who put time and effort into the product. If anything, Hasbro just wants D&D to do the numbers that Magic is doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, I definitely love being in an indie team, an indie startup. I've worked a lot of different jobs and corporations over the years, and I definitely feel like I'm allowed to do my job without like restrictions, and like my bosses trust my judgment. I'm given a lot of latitude in my decision making and like how I run our community. I don't know. I feel like at other places I wouldn't have as much freedom to work the way I do or with the community the way I am able to. And I think our growth as a community as a whole, it isn't necessarily been dependent on the streams, but I think it's helped, mold us into a very, like, let's just say, supportive community in many different places, not just in Discord, but on the streams and in social media. And that's a good question. As someone who is an adult always wanting to be employed, I'm always thinking of the future, right? Part of me, knows Dungeon Alchemist isn't a forever thing. But I also think that Briganti has a future outside of Dungeon Alchemist. I'd very much like to be part of that company's future. There's not just Dungeon Alchemist on the horizon, full release, but maybe a DA paired VTT, and who knows, maybe other tools in the future, World Alchemist or other games, who knows. I have my own ideas too for games. Oh, get some rest, Highland Lass, and take care of that pony. Give it some loves. Enjoy your day. Okay, so features. Today I want to discuss cameras and perspective. So we've discussed a little bit in top-down, right? When you click the view mode up here, which is P, there's a shortcut key, you can toggle between a flattened view, a top-down 3D view, and an angled 3D view where you have full control over the camera. Additionally, okay, when it comes to cameras and perspective, you have the cinematic camera, which is a drone camera, excuse me. If you click on the icon or press O, it will launch. In this camera mode, and those hiccups, you can get low to the ground, even underwater. You can get above. Essentially, you can fly around and interact with the map, open and close doors, disable lighting, and record antique screenshots to share with your players. Anani, I have my own ideas too for games. Like, as a long-time streamer and content creator, it's not like I just sit here playing games or streaming them, not thinking of other stuff. And so I have ideas, pitches, if you will, that I'm working on in the background. That said, someday I'd very much either love to pitch my idea to a game studio and have it come to life, or one of my ideas at least, and or start my own game studio. That said, I don't really have the knowledge or know-how like Karel does, so who knows what my future will hold. We'll see. So this map here was made by Chelso, is their username on Steam. It's a very nice map. So I have an idea for a game. I guess the best way to describe it is an asymmetrical extraction shooter. Traditionally, extraction shooters are either PvE or PvP or PvPvE. I want to combine elements of extraction shooters, which are really fun and really popular right now. Like one of the most popular games in the world right now is Ark Raiders, right? But I want to incorporate elements of like horror and survival into it. So while Ark is cool, honestly, the players are more terrifying than the Ark robots are. At some point, they get to a point where the players are more scary. And I'd like to capitalize on that, but instead of designing a game strictly to be PvP, it has elements that kind of encourage team play amongst survivors, but there's still very much PvP elements. Hard to explain too much without giving away too much, as it's a very important idea to me that I put a lot of time into. I don't want to explain too much on stream. That said, I want it to feel kind of like your Ark Raiders, Tarkov type games, but have a more motivation as to why they're doing what they're doing, right? Boo. You're funny, Mandu. It'll have story elements. It's in a familiar setting. Oh man, hiccups. You tried to scare him out of me, but that's not scary. You were like, Mac, the stream crashed. Then I probably get a little bit more scared. I've been working on it with the missus. She is such a great artist that like I'll tell her an idea and it like she can bring it to life, right? And I think that'll help us a lot, is having concept sketches and maps and, you know, work out some ideas of loot tables and craftables and, you know, I don't know, a skill tree, but not a skill tree. I feel like skill trees are so overdone. But at the same time, they're like tried and true. Anyway, looks like we have covered our time today. Unfortunately, we did not get a whole lot of time to discuss cameras and perspectives, but I will end on the note with cameras that when you use the camera tools in Dungeon Alchemist to your advantage, you now have a map that isn't just a top-down export. So not only, you know, can you use the cameras to get interesting angles, but you can introduce your players to a new environment for the first time through their eyes, like a player walking into a tavern and scoping it out for the first time. I love this iconic interaction. You know, I would assume a survivor, you know, a person who is leveling up and becoming very powerful also has a history and probably doesn't want to get, you know, ganked or bounty hunted, or might be a little paranoid, but walking into a place and looking around from side to side and then kind of scoping out the land before you proceed to the bar. Such an iconic thing that you can just clip and give to your players when they enter a place for the first time. It's very mood setting. Mandu. That's funny. I don't know. I definitely think it's very powerful to have these tools at your fingertips. I need to update the UTC on there because they're 9 hours ahead at the moment, aren't they? So it's not. They're like, yeah, because if it's 2:30, they're 11:30 right now, I believe. Do any of you ever go through your maps and take screenshots in like first person or in the cinematic camera to use for handouts? Ooh, secret. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. But yeah, we are like a power team, power couple. Honestly, a lot of the times my ideas won't see the light of day unless she were to draw them first. So, is it 10:35 UTC? I'm so confused. Oh, I'm thinking CET. Never mind. CET's not 9 hours ahead, isn't it? Now that you have verticality that's so at your fingertips, Mondu, do you run a lot more vertical encounters, like combat encounters? Like I know Eric, my DM, he doesn't like enjoy items that like give you flight that much, or like because they tend to make the map, you know, a 3D battlefield when there's flight and height involved. That being said, we have used the building to our advantage in combat several times. Like I went over a building instead of in through it and avoided like a ton of traps. Oh, nice. So it's like a point of interest they can click on, and then it's just an image expansion like that they can see. That is that a stock feature now? Random Ladybird? Man, these hiccups are killing me. Alrighty, everyone. Time to wrap it up. Wrap it up with a bow. Put that on a t-shirt. Oh, hiccups are killing me. So 2 of our players have flight. We have a winged tiefling variant and a fairy. So at least 2 members of our party can fly. And I'm small enough that I could be picked up by either of them as a halfling. So easy to tote me around. That being said, usually if I can get one like uncommon magic item for free or end up buying it, I usually get a broom of flying. I love getting a broom of flying because they're just neat. That being said, in the campaign I'm in, they're not available just to purchase. They would be rewarded randomly if we get one. So, through a loot table. For some reason, I thought those points of interest weren't a stock feature. I thought they were like through a module. My bad. That's really cool, though. You know what I need to do is I need to dive back into every virtual tabletop and just refresh myself with them. Because they've gone through so many changes in the last year. All the big 3 have had major changes. I was actually talking to the developer, Megasploot, who made, you know, Dungeon Draft and Wonder Draft. Excuse me. And we were talking about the UVTT format, which they developed and, share with the greater map making community as a universal map file that has data in it. And they were talking about expanding the format to potentially have more options in it, like more door choices, because right now there's just like a door. What if there's or just a wall instead? Now, like what if there's a half wall or a wall that's glass, like a greenhouse, or a wall that has a secret door on it? Stuff like that's harder to articulate in the UVTT format. So hoping that will get an improvement. We'll see. Anyway, everyone, it is time to wrap up the stream. So thank you very, very much for hanging out with me today and for being such good guests when Karl was present. Appreciate you all being on your best behavior. I know we have an amazing community that doesn't act out, but it's always so nice when we have a guest and there's no problems. You know what I mean? I appreciate you all so very, very much. My mods today were absolute rock stars. Thank you so much for helping out, answering questions in between and forwarding me questions in Discord. My viewers today, whether it was your first time watching or your 100th, whether you were actively chatting or you were lurking, I appreciate you all so very, very much. These community initiatives would be nothing without you present enjoying them. So thank you for participating. And I hope to see you on Monday with Mapmaker Monday when it returns. We'll be starting a new map, which I think I'm going to build a general store alongside our community building shops right now. Scared me, Mondu. What you need to do to scare an adult, you need to be like, there's a leak in your living room. Your plumbing must be bad. Right? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making tool available on Steam. You can try our demo to download and give it a test drive before you buy. That way you can see how it runs on your system and make sure it's worth investing. Make sure it's, runs well on your computer and you get the vibe of the app. Anyway, thank you for attending and make sure you check us out on Steam if you haven't already. Otherwise, I'm going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad and we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you everyone for being here. Mac out. Bye.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
Thank you everyone for watching. Sorry about the stream hiccups today with Twitch. We'll see you back on Monday. Back out. Bye.